Hey everybody, it's Bob Crossan, Senior Managing Editor for Water and Waste Digest, and today I have with me Antoine Walter. He is Senior Business Development Manager for Wastewater Treatment for GF Piping Systems, and he's also one of our WWD 2021 Young Pros. Now, as you've likely noticed, we've been doing a ton of these interviews every single Tuesday and Thursday on our Facebook page at 6 p.m. Eastern Time. You can find each new video. You can also find a playlist on Facebook and on our YouTube channel, and you can check out all the videos on our website. Links to all of that are down below, but let's talk with Antoine. Antoine, thank you so much for being here. Congrats on being a young pro. Really, really exciting to have you here.
Well, thanks a lot. Thanks for having me, Bob.
Yeah, yeah, certainly. Well, I wanted to talk about, let's start with your career trajectory. We've done this with basically every young professional that I've talked to. Could you talk about kind of how you got into water, what your schooling was like, and what kind of led you to the role that you currently have with GF Piping Systems?
Well, I'm a water engineer to how much that represents. I mean, it's a mix between hydraulics, environment, all of that stuff. So basically, I think I'm in water since almost forever. And having completed my engineering school, I had the weird experience to travel the world. So my first job was to just travel the world, which is probably the coolest job in the world. But add to that I was visiting several sites. I mean, did that for a French company called Engie, so it's the former Gaz de France, and had the chance to visit many different sites from coal mines to wastewater treatment plants, from energy stuff to really water stuff, because it's really what the company was covering. And that confirmed me that I wanted to work into this water world. I mean, I saw drinking water plants in Australia. I saw UN programs to bring drinking water to people in the slums of New Delhi. I saw wastewater treatment, which was fully hidden under a rock in Hong Kong. So I thought, yeah, there's something really exciting about that industry. So when I came back, I had the chance to pick a very cool role in Switzerland, and I was working for Suez for the next 6 years. And after a while, I thought, it's good to always have a fresh start and to keep being entertained by what you're doing in your daily life. And I had the chance to join GF Piping Systems, which allows me now to be in this very interesting role that I'm a bit in between a bolts and nuts supplier, in the sense that we produce all the parts that build the systems at the end, and also trying to translate that for the water industry, because we have a bit to understand what are the challenges that the water industry is facing today, so that we bring the right Lego pieces that fulfill that need. So that's a bit of my almost 10 years career path. I'm getting old for a young professional.
Well, one of the things too that was really striking about your survey responses was your schooling and the school that you attended that's specifically for like engineers and stuff like that, and your parents went there too. There's this whole family lineage almost with this engineering side of things. Could you talk a little bit about what it's like to follow in those kinds of footsteps and keep that family lineage going in that way?
Yeah, the thing is, I love what I'm doing. I don't know how much of what I did is really a conscious choice. I just followed what was always. I mean, when I was 5, my father was negotiating if there was an excavator working in a river. He was negotiating with the guy in the excavator that I would play along with the excavator, and then he would invite the guy for lunch or for dinner. So I've always been touching water. My parents were met at that engineering school I then later attended, and until this year, my uncle is the director of that school. So it's really like water family when you think of it. But yeah, I think it brings you a special connection. When you open the tap in the morning, people just drink it. I don't, because I know you never take the water sample, which is the first one that comes out of the tap. So yeah, it's those little details. When I see someone that understands what I'm doing right now, I say, hey, you're a water professional too. I'm glad. We have this special way of recognizing ourselves. So yeah, yeah, I've always been in contact with water. It sounds really stupid when you say it that way, but to me, it's my natural element. So like we all should be. Yeah,
Yeah, it's kind of the natural element for everybody, but some people specialize in it, and that's what you're doing.
good way to summarize it. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. You mentioned too a lot of like your travels and stuff like that, and you learned a lot through that. What were some of the memories that really stuck with you that have kind of propelled your interest and kept it moving forward? I imagine aspects of that of those trips and stuff are still very formative for your career, even from 10 years ago, right?
There's something, every water professional will tell you that every project is exactly the same, except that it's totally different. And the fact that it's just totally different every time is water itself. And that you can really feel it when you go at different places, you see different typology of waters, different way to deal with water. I mean, if you're a country like I am, I'm French, I'm living next to a river. To me, we are water rich, we have water everywhere. So why is it a concern? And then you're in the middle of the desert in Australia, and there every drop of water is like gold. But to me, the most impressive experience was that one I already alluded to, which is when I was on this UN program in the middle of a slum in New Delhi. Because what struck me there is that the people told me they were incredibly glad to have suddenly access to water, which they didn't have before the full program. But what was really impressive is that all of them were paying for that water. And they were very proud of paying for that water, because they were saying, we don't want it to be free. It is the most valuable stuff we have here, and we want it to be considered as valuable. So of course we don't have much money, so don't make it stupidly expensive. But everyone has to pay this little bit just to remember how precious such a resource, which we have kind of magic everywhere, but still how precious it is. And that's something which I try to keep with me 10 years later, almost 10 years later. Come on, I'm still young. But it's really something which I try to carry with me all the time.
Yeah, I'm glad that you brought that up, because this whole element of visibility and value are really big. There were common themes with a lot of the young professionals this year. I think that there is a lot of stress from young professionals right now of like, we need to highlight what we're doing and the value we bring to society in a way that we haven't done before. And there's this whole element of like, we need to make our jobs visible. We need to highlight the kind of the work that we do so we can express the value that water brings to everyone's life. And I think especially here in the US where I am, it is just taken for granted. It's not really like thought about in terms of value. So the fact that you were able to have an experience that kind of alluded to how critical that value is really, really important. Are there things that you think that that young professionals and professionals currently in the industry can do to try and elevate the value of water in a way that promotes also the equity and affordability and access aspects, that because that's really the challenge, right? Like, how do you place such a high value on it while also meeting these things of like, everyone needs it and we should make sure that everyone has it, but also make it affordable for them?
Many challenges, and some of them
Yeah.
might be contradictory when you think of it. But the bottom of it is that you value what you understand. You don't value something which is totally foreign to you. And I mean, some activists have made an awesome job at putting the carbon at the top of everyone's minds, at putting the rainforest at the top of everyone's mind. But if you go now in the street and you ask people, what do you think is the most pressing challenge in the world? Never, never, never water is going to come. I shall do that one day. I'm going to do that experiment. But we, the young water professionals, but I think young is not a matter of age, it's a matter of being young minded. We have to bring that and to say, hey, wait a minute, it's not a competition between challenges we are facing in the world. But by the way, if there are still 1.8 billion people which don't have access to drinking water nowadays, if there are still 80% of the world's wastewater which is not treated, we cannot say, let's put that under the carpet. It's not a problem. Let's live with it. We cannot live with that. So we have to make sure that we explain, and we take the chance every time to explain to everyone why that matters, and why it's not because the magical number that it solves the problem. You have to find ways every day in everyday's life to solve the problem. And the thing is, even in places where you have a lot of water, there are water challenges. And in every different place in the world, there are water challenges. Some of them are pressing and lives are at stake. Some other are a bit less pressing, but it's just a matter of sustainability. All of them on the long run will be a major problem. And that is, I think, our responsibility to explain to everyone that, yeah, sure, we have today all the techniques in the world to treat any kind of pollution, but if you don't understand why, what that costs, what are the ins, the outs, why would you do that? So
Mhm.
I think we have to be pedagogic and we have to share our enthusiasm for the matter. And that's a bit a part of the challenge that we all take on, I think.
Mhm. That's a good point that you make about sharing the enthusiasm and yeah, definitely education. Just like when people understand just how challenging certain aspects of water treatment can be, or how important this one part of the process is to you being able to turn on your tap and get water, it can bridge that gap and it can create that value structure that we're mentioning here.
I mean, there's the water from the tap, but everything is water. Everything you touch has been produced somewhere, and that somewhere needed water. I know barely a handful of processes in the world that don't need water. So it's touching everywhere, but it's somehow the hidden thing. I mean, energy is made with steam. Steam is water. The meat you're eating needed a lot of water, and whatever product. I mean, we are talking in cameras right now because we are not physically in front one to each other,
Mhm.
and cameras need a lot of water to be produced. But if you go to visit one of these industries, you won't see water. It's something which is hidden. And if you ask an operator, he won't know about water because it's not his job. So it's our duty as water professionals to say, hey, in all of that, there's water involved. And if we all behave correctly with the water, there's enough for everyone. But we have to be sure that we deal with that in a smart way.
Yeah, totally, totally. So, pivoting a little bit, I hate to disrupt our very passionate discussion here, but pivoting a little bit more toward your personal life, is composing music, and you like discovery, the act of discovery. How do you think that that type of curiosity for the unknown and trying to find that next new sound or discovering the next new musical note thing that you want to do has helped in your career path? Like, are there skills with this musical element of things that you like to do that are transferring over to your job with water?
You know, I was studying keyboard, which you still see a bit in my back. And there's one thing when you're studying keyboard, you start with playing Mozart, Beethoven, Bach. And I found out I was never the best at that. I was able to learn it a bit, but I was never the best. And I thought, even in my small town, I'm not the best. So I must not be done for that. But what I found out is that I'm not good to reproduce what's existing, but I'm not that bad to create new stuff. So not to say that I'm a wannabe John Lennon or whatever big musician, but I genuinely enjoy that thing of creating something. And this aspect of creating something, when you think of it, everything in life, again, can also be somehow attached to this creation and creativity. And I think now that sounds really, really not modest at all when I say that, but I think I'm kind of a creative person. And that's something which was built by my musical years. The other thing which I try to always remember is when I was 17, I was directing. I was the director of a small orchestra. So think really
Mhm.
your small town little orchestra. But what I found out there is that some of the musicians which were playing in that orchestra were brilliant, awesome musicians, and some others were just there for 60 years and barely knew how to read what we were supposed to play. But if you came at a Friday evening there, we were having fun and certainly not playing good music. But by a certain kind of magic, by the end of the year, you would come to the final concert and it would be almost good, you know? And that teaches something about teamwork, how you can leverage the knowledge of everyone. You can tell that guy, you know, you're the best one when it comes to open the bottle of wine, but probably if you were just playing a little bit less or a little bit, you know, just in your end, and that guy, which is awesome, let him be in the spotlight, then we can really build something all together. And the full system was always much better than the sum of its parts. And that is the other element which I try to carry with me every day, which is build a team, work as a team, and then we can do something awesome.
Hmm. Yeah, so knowing how your skill set fits into the greater picture, and then
Exactly.
utilizing that to get to the final goal. And this is something too, just touching on some of the other themes with the young professionals of shared purpose is one of the big ones that we hear from a lot of the young professionals of like understanding what your role is in the system and then being able to draw a direct line from this is the work I did and here's the exact outcome of me knowing like I know that because I did this, this happened, and I am very proud of that.
And talking of this young generation that's maybe a bit more connected than the former generation, is that if we look at the water industry and the water sector not as a silo which is only made of water people, but we look a bit left and right, there's probably good inspiration to find also left and right. I mean, the obvious usual suspect is energy. If you look at the energy market, you somehow see the future of water markets, but that means that you have to keep an eye open to be sure that you can take good ideas out of context and bring them in the context of the water sector. So you have to be humble enough to say that what we are doing today is probably not perfect yet, but we can work all together to make it almost perfect on the long run.
Yeah. So last question here, and this one is one that I'm asking all of the young professionals. It's about workforce, which we know to be a big issue. We have a lot of older folks in the industry who are working toward retirement. We need to get this pipeline kind of filled up, and there is this scare that there's not enough qualified workers. So the question to you would be, how would you cater to and grab the interests of the next generation of water workers?
Well, the first thing, and which is to me the obvious, I would be looking at more diversity in the water treatment sector, in the water sector in general. Because if you look right now, I think that was an IWA study which says that it's 83% of the industry is made of men. And sorry, we are two men discussing that matter. And I see it with my own podcast. I try to invite awesome women as well, but it's hard to find them just because they're not that much in this industry. And the thing is not just equality for the sake of equality. It's just on that planet, and I don't know another one, it's like 50-50 male and female. So if you have 83% of an industry which is made of males, that means you are not tapping in half of the workforce. Brilliant brains, awesome people, and you just don't invite them to the table. So that's the first element. And the second element is a bit what I was saying before. It is this matter of awareness. You need to spread that message that there is something to achieve, there is something to do, that probably we are not the industry which pays the most. Probably not. But we are one of these industries which can say, at the end of the day, if we all do our job, we are making the world better piece by piece. But you have to explain first the problem. What are the challenges? What is out there? What do we have to solve? Then how we solve it, and then finally do it. And if we do that, then, I mean, it's just nature.
Yeah. So I like the diversity thing. I'll note too, one of the I try and pay a lot of attention to that, especially with our young professionals program, of making sure we have a good spread of male to female in here. And we haven't real I we really should be a little more cognizant of just any gender identity there as well, and not really base it specifically on that. But in terms of our program, we do have a really good mix of women and men in our program, which is something that I put a lot of effort into making sure that we do highlight some really intelligent women in the industry, because that type of representation does matter. It does mean that other women can see that and be like, "Ooh, I want to be like her." That's a huge deal. So I totally agree with you on that type of thing, and making sure, like, we're just missing out on tapping certain smart people, just period, if you're not looking at everyone. So.
Yeah, I mean, it's a matter of sustainability. Again, I mean, sustainability is taken at every source nowadays. You can really use sustainability in every context, but it is a matter of sustainability. Sustainability is made of concern to the environment, which is the one which is the most popular. It's made by profitability. You need to have something which is profitable on the long run to everyone, but you need the people. And the people that will make it happen, those are the people. I mean, it's this triple bottom. Those are the people which will be the ones which make the full system work. And that is all about, I mean, gender is, it's not a matter of gender at the end of the day. I couldn't care less if I'm a man, if it's a woman, who cares? It's about tapping into the 7 billion people living on this planet and taking them to be part of the change we want to see, especially when it comes to one which are interesting in the world matter. But we have to make it happen, and to make it happen will only be with people.
Yeah, definitely. I wanted to touch too, just before we wrap up here, the diversity aspect of this too is also the diversity of career paths that there are in water. We need everything. You need the engineering side, you need the marketing side, you need the advertisers, you need all different things. It's not you're not pigeonholed going into this industry. There's so many ways to get involved. So, but anyway, for everyone who's watching, you can read more about Antoine and all of our young pros. In the description below, we have a link to the published work that we have in May, featuring all of them. You make sure that you also check back every Tuesday and Thursday at 6 p.m. Eastern Time on our Facebook page for new videos. We're running them every single week through the first week of June, so we only have about a few more left here. But check them out, and you can check out the playlist down there below. And to Antoine, thank you again for being here. I really appreciate you taking the time, and I could feel your passion from here, and I totally love that. It's one of the big reasons why we wanted to bring you into our young professionals this year.
Well, thanks a lot. Thanks for bringing the highlight on some new profiles. I would say I'm not talking of me. I'm talking of the full this full generation that you're putting in the spot every year, and that's really cool because I think that's you need some role models one way or the other, and take the other ones. Don't take me, but you need some role models to break a pattern, and that's what we are basically
Yeah.
doing here.
Well, thank you so much. We appreciate your time.